Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a video all about my postpartum health and fitness journey. This has been a video that you guys have asked me for over and over again over the last couple of years, and I took my time sitting down to film it because I really wanted to make sure that I came at it very intentionally. So here's what I don't want this video to feel like. I do not want this video to feel like how to lose all the baby weight super fast, or make you compare yourself in any way, positive or negative, and leave feeling icky. But at the same time, over the last few years, my physical health has undergone a huge metamorphosis, becoming a mom and figuring out that I have some hypermobility issues and getting diagnosed with ADHD. It's like been a whole thing. So I wanted to sit down and do a whole video about the journey. So I'm gonna start by kind of telling you the story of my health and fitness journey from before Rowan, because I feel like in order to talk about the postpartum stuff, we also have to talk about the pregnancy stuff to get a little bit of background. And then I'm gonna be answering all of your questions that you guys submitted about health and fitness and what I'm doing. And I also wanna say a huge thank you to Trainwell for sponsoring today's video. So we're going all the way back to when Matt and I were newlyweds and moving up to Seattle. We were in a really tough period in our lives. I was just trying to get my business off the ground. He had gotten a job offer, quit his job, and then the job offer fell through. I know, when you're young, you do dumb stuff. But we were struggling financially. My mental health was really hard because of it. And because of that, I gained a lot of weight. I was not very active. I didn't feel good in my body. Thankfully, Matt did get a job offer and we moved up here to the Seattle area. And when he started with this new company, they had a program where they would put money into your HSA for steps, basically. There were a few different step goals. It was like you had to do 500 steps every hour, 6 hours out of the day. You had to get 10,000 steps total, and then you had to do 3,000 steps within 30 minutes. And that was kind of the beginning of my health journey, because we started doing it for the money, basically, the health insurance money, and it radically changed my life because all of a sudden I was up and moving every hour. We were taking a walk together every day. I was getting 10,000 steps in every day. And what happened is that my mental health started to really get better. So at that point I realized, hey, physical health and fitness is going to be a huge part of my mental health journey, having depression and anxiety and unknown ADHD at that point. I would run a mile and then do a full strength training workout every single day. I was probably in the best shape of my life, but I also feel like it maybe wasn't coming from the best place with my body. I've talked to you guys a million times about all of the body image issues that I've had throughout my life. And I feel like while I was telling myself that I was doing it for my mental health and it was making a big difference in my mental health, I was also really getting down on myself about the progress that I made in like my physical shape and focusing way too much on that. Flash forward a few months and I get pregnant with Rowan, and pregnancy is obviously a huge, very quick body change. And I quickly found myself having pretty bad body dysmorphia. I felt very out of control of my body. I grew up thinking that the worst thing that could happen to me was gaining weight, and all of a sudden I was gaining all this weight uncontrollably. I couldn't do anything about it. But in every stage of my fitness journey, I have been trying to reframe why I'm exercising. So in that stage, rather than trying to not gain weight, because obviously I was pregnant, I was going to gain weight, I started trying to prepare myself for birth. So I did a prenatal exercise program. Again, I was doing like 5 days a week, very intense. And you know what? It did pay off in terms of my birth experience. I had an unmedicated birth, and I feel like I would not have been able to do that with little to no other preparation if my body hadn't been so strong. But it really threw me for a loop mentally because I was still going through all these changes. Postpartum, I felt very different. I felt like I was in a stranger's body, and I kind of stopped working out because I had gotten into my head so much about it, and I knew that I wasn't in a good headspace with fitness. And I didn't want to be working out because I hated my body. I wanted to be working out because I loved my body. Between Rowan and Juniper, I was the smallest physically that I've ever been, but I wasn't very strong because I wasn't working out. And I especially was not working out once I got pregnant with Juniper because I had less energy. I had more morning sickness than the first time around. I was chasing around a toddler. And so I really didn't work out for like a year to a year and a half. And oh my gosh, did I notice the difference in my mental and physical health. The last month or so of my pregnancy with Juniper, I knew that I wanted to get back into some strength training again to prepare for birth. And so I started doing virtual personal coaching, and it was the biggest game changer for me. I use Trainwell to do personal training from my home. It has been so convenient, especially as a mom. If you haven't already heard of Trainwell, they are an incredible platform that helps to match you with a personal trainer that you can work with from the comfort of your own home in their app, or you can take it to the gym. There's so much flexibility. As a mom, this is perfect because I like to have accountability. So my trainer, Catherine, is constantly checking in with me, seeing how things are going, seeing where I need support. But there's also flexibility in the inevitable times when things go wrong with the schedule and I need to change the day of when I need to work out. I don't have like a set appointment where I have to be at a gym somewhere. I'm able to kind of move it around to fit my schedule when I need to. To start, I had an onboarding call with her where we talked about my health history, which was huge for me, obviously, and my specific concerns with like my hypermobility stuff and joint health. We talked about my goals, and then she got to work creating a completely custom plan just based on me. And what's really cool is as I'm doing the workouts, I can send her videos so she can give me feedback on my form. I can give her my input on the exercises, whether they're too easy, too hard, if I don't like a specific exercise, if there is any pain, and then she can adjust them before my next workout, which is really great. So recently I had a dumbbell push press exercise and I was hearing some clicking in my shoulders. So I sent her a little video message and she was able to send me a video back telling me how to adjust my form to help with that issue.
The other thought would be we can always change your grip. So you can flip your hands out to a wider grip. So you have a wider grip here and push overhead with the palms facing forward versus facing each other.
If you want to try Trainwell, formerly Copilot, out for yourself, you can go to the link in my description, and the first 100 people to sign up will get 14 days free plus $25 off their first month of Trainwell. One thing that was difficult for me was during my pregnancy with Juniper, a bunch of health issues started cropping up that had always been there but kind of laying low. And then when I was pregnant, they all kind of came bubbling to the surface. One thing is my ADHD. I went undiagnosed for 27-ish years of my life. With all the hormone changes of pregnancy, all of those symptoms and the executive dysfunction and a lot of the stuff that goes along with that became so apparent that I finally figured out, wait a minute, I think I might be neurodivergent, and I went and sought a diagnosis. Sure enough, I have very severe ADHD and have my entire life. And one of the best things you can do for ADHD is exercise regularly. The problem with that is that another symptom of ADHD is executive dysfunction, where you want to do something so bad and you cannot get yourself to do it. It's a whole dopamine thing. I won't get too far into it. You can watch my ADHD diagnosis video if you want to hear me talk more in depth about this. But basically, I knew that once again, not for my physical body, but for my mental health, I needed to be active physically a lot. This is one thing that I feel like having a virtual personal trainer really, really helped with, because even when I wasn't feeling motivated or I was having executive dysfunction, I had a coach on the other side of the screen in the app, and she was checking in with me. She was encouraging me. She was gently nudging me about my workouts and when I was gonna do them and how my progress was. Another thing that pregnancy really exacerbated for me is my hypermobility. I have hypermobility syndrome. I didn't know until after I had Juniper, but pregnancy with all the relaxin hormone in my system just like really made it so that I could not ignore it anymore. And all these things that I thought were fun, like, oh, double jointed or whatever, or like my hands doing weird things, suddenly became much more intense and led to a lot of joint pain, specifically in my knees. So as if the universe hadn't bashed me over the head with it enough, I had to start doing some serious strength training. My doctor who was evaluating me for EDS told me, and I quote, "I want you to get jacked." He was like, you have to work out for the rest of your life because you need the muscles around your joints to be strong to hold everything in place. And hypermobility can be a superpower if you're strong. It can also be a huge liability if you're not really taking that time to do strength training. So the great thing about Trainwell is that I was able to communicate this to my trainer, and she was really able to help me focus on working up the chain and really helping to support my joints. My joint pain has reduced so much, like truly life-changing. And ironically, I feel like my hypermobility diagnosis was the final kind of nail in the coffin of those body image issues, because for so long I'd been fighting against my brain that wanted me to work out of guilt and shame because I didn't look a certain way, or I thought I didn't look a certain way. Body dysmorphia is wild, but knowing that it was actually like a diagnosable health issue that I needed to prioritize, especially for my longevity, being able to keep up with my kids and being able to live independently in my old age, hopefully being around for my grandkids and being able to run around with them, that really put it into perspective for me. Once I was able to kind of strip that shame and guilt, fitness became fun, and I started really pushing myself to see if I could lift heavier, because I wasn't trying to fit a specific physique of like that workout style where you do a lot of reps with low weight so that you just tone or whatever. Now I'm like, no, I need to build muscle. I've been challenging myself. I've been trying new exercises, and it hasn't felt daunting, because rather than trying to absolutely run myself into the ground every workout, I've been working with my coach on creating 20 to 25 minute workouts that fit really easily into my schedule, that I can move around depending on how the kids are sleeping or what my workload looks like or what childcare looks like that week. As a result, coincidentally, I have gotten back to my pre-baby weight with Rowan anyway. I think I was lighter in between Rowan and Juniper, but again, that was because I had no muscle. And so when I talk about physical fitness, because I know you guys have a lot of questions about baby weight and nutrition and all of that, I want to preempt it with that backstory that it has been a big journey for me of trying to switch the goal from being small to being strong. And I think that that's very normal. I think especially people who experienced early 2000s diet culture, or who had moms who experienced early 2000s diet culture, and then that kind of bled down to us, all have a huge hurdle to overcome there. So I don't want you to watch this video and go, oh, she's at her pre-baby weight, or oh, she's so strong, or whatever, and not take that into account, because it was and is very difficult and still something that I'm working on every day. So now that you guys have a little bit more of a background on my health and fitness journey, I thought I would answer some of your questions. I have been collecting these over the course of several months from different comments that have been left on videos, and I also just did an Instagram question box. So if you're not following me on Instagram and you have any specific questions or like a video request, Instagram is a great place to do that. I'll put my handle and my profile right here. I remember you said you were struggling with feeling comfortable in your skin. How are you feeling now? First of all, thank you for asking. That's very kind of you to check in on me. I think I'm doing a lot better. I definitely still have a ways to go. It's something that I have been working at very intentionally in therapy and in my journaling practice. And like I said, just really switching that mindset from working out because I hate my body to working out because I love my body. If you are also somebody who struggles with body image, I would recommend a really great book to you called The Body Is Not an Apology. This was given to me by my friend Evan. And if you feel like being thin or being pretty is the rent that you pay to exist in the world as a woman, I would highly recommend this book. It's a short read and it is really, really good. Have you done any pelvic floor therapy? Okay, so funny that you ask, because I literally just ordered a PeriFit. I was actually at a birthday party for one of Rowan's little friends, and it was at a bouncy house place, and I didn't think anything of it. I like got in the bouncy house and I was jumping around with Rowan, and then I was like, uh-oh. And that's when I realized that I needed to prioritize my pelvic floor health. So I immediately sent a message to Catherine, and I got a little device so I can track my progress. So I will let you know how that goes. Do you have any tips on how to consistently lose baby fat? I'm gonna answer this question because I know that it's one that I would ask as a very anxious pregnant or early postpartum mom, but I also want to answer this with the caveat and with the understanding that you are more than your weight, and losing weight is not a prerequisite to being enough or to deserving love. However, I also understand if you're feeling like, well, gosh, my clothes aren't fitting me right now. I don't wanna have to go and buy a whole new wardrobe that's expensive, or even just like, I feel uncomfortable in my body. I don't feel like myself. I think the easiest way to get into it is just doing a lot of walks. I actually still really like that formula that I talked about earlier from when we first moved to Seattle. We no longer use that program because Matt's company changed health insurance providers, but keeping the general formula of like 500 steps or just like 5 to 7 minutes of walking every hour, one half-an-hour walk every day, and then trying to hit 10,000 steps overall is such a good way to get active. It's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health. It's good for your metabolism. I would highly recommend that as a jumping off point. And then also just working with somebody who knows what specific stage you're in, because a lot of workouts that are not postpartum specific are not going to serve you well in this time, especially if you're breastfeeding and there's like a whole lot of other nutrient stuff there. And if you are like me me and you had a baby who's very sensitive to lactic acid in breast milk, the timing can get kind of funky. So I would highly recommend working with somebody who understands postpartum. One thing I like about Train Well is that if you are not clicking with your coach, or if you feel like they're not a good fit for your needs, you can request to switch at any time. It's really important to make sure that you're with somebody who gets you, who supports you. Shout out Catherine. What has your weekly workout schedule looked at each stage? Newborn, pre-walking, walking, etc. I will say that when my kids were like newborns, like first month or two, I didn't do much of anything at all. I mean, for 6 weeks, I literally did nothing other than gentle walks around the neighborhood. And when I did start working out, I did some workouts using my babies as weight, or using my stroller, like doing stroller workouts. Those were really fun, but definitely keeping it very gentle, being very compassionate with myself. And it wasn't until probably like the 6 month plus stage when I started to push myself again, because when I wasn't getting any sleep and I was extremely fatigued all the time, I was adjusting to life as a new mom. It was just really not something that I had the capacity for. I was just maintaining as a baseline, like doing walks, doing very light workouts. But when we hit that like 6 months to a year stage is when I started to push myself again. And like I said, I had unique challenges with both kids, but I had to be getting some sleep first. Now that my kids are older, wake windows are longer, I'm not breastfeeding every 3 hours, I'm really able to kind of bake it into my weekly routine and push myself and try new things, which has been really fun. When Juniper turned 1, I did Pilates for a little while, which was so much fun. It was a great way to get back into like a consistent routine, because I was working out, but I didn't have a good schedule. But it was so expensive and it was so hard to find blocks of childcare to go and do it, even just once a week. So I'm really glad I switched to an app program because it's just so much more flexible. But I will say it was fun to try something new. I want an update on your functional health and hypermobility journey. Girl, it has been a journey. So the TLDR is that I was being evaluated for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or EDS, and the results were inconclusive. Basically, there's no like blood test you can do for hypermobile EDS specifically. There are some genetic markers for other types of EDS. It's just like a diagnostic, like answering a lot of questions and then like just doing weird things, like overlapping your thumb and pinky on your wrist. And basically what my doctor told me is I was within 1 point. I was like exactly borderline on whether or not I had it. So we're not rushing to a diagnosis. He said that either way, whether it's just hypermobility syndrome or it's hypermobile EDS, strength training is really the best way to protect my joint health. So I'm kind of just doing that for now and seeing how that affects things. But I think it's been really crucial to get that piece of information about myself and my health so that I can modify the other things that I'm doing and understand my body a little bit better. How much did stopping breastfeeding affect weight? This is something that I was really anxious about, especially in the depths of my body image issues with being pregnant with Rowan and then immediately postpartum after that. But I am pleased to report that it really didn't affect much of anything for me. I think because it was just such a slow tapering off process of dropping one feed and then weeks would go by or even months before dropping another feed. And as I was doing that, my appetite was also naturally decreasing because I didn't need to produce as much breast milk. So I just was really listening to my body and eating what I felt like I needed to eat instead of just keeping my portion sizes the same throughout the whole thing. And thankfully, I didn't see much of a difference, if at all. And it wasn't something that deserved all of the stress that I had given it prior to stopping breastfeeding. Do you have any healthy meal ideas? How do you approach nutrition? This is something that I really struggle with, and my Train Well trainer actually was able to help me a little bit with nutrition. She didn't give me like a specific meal plan or anything, but she gave me this great infographic, and I'll link it down below for you guys because it was game changing for me. It's like split into 4 columns, and basically you pick one thing from each column, you pick a flavor profile, and then it also helps you with portion size. And I feel like that has simplified meal stuff so much for me, especially because it can make something like chicken and rice and veggies taste different depending on like what, like I think they call them aromatics and herbs you put in it. I'm also definitely still using my meal planning system from the video that I posted about that, which basically is like 5 minutes per week to meal plan and order all my groceries, which has just been absolutely game changing. But whenever I'm feeling like I want to switch it up or try a new recipe, I will just go to that document and try something new. I'm trying to focus on adding in more good things rather than taking away bad things. And by bad things, what I really mean is like processed food. I'm trying to eat less processed food just because it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Don't get me wrong, like we still go through drive-thru, we still eat frozen food, but I'm just trying to slowly incorporate more whole foods into my diet. So there's that. What's harder, wanting to work out after a long day or finding the time? Definitely the motivation, the wanting to work out. And this is where accountability is so key for me. Matt and I are workout buddies, and I also have Catherine nudging me in the app. And it's never like judgy or pushy. It's always just like, hey, how are you doing? Are you gonna get to that workout today? Or are we pushing it? Like, let's make a plan. If you're not gonna do it today, like what other day of the week would be good? And I feel like it's really motivated me because I wanna keep my promises to her as well as to myself. Motivation has historically been hard for me, but I am working on it. And I feel like I've got a system now that works and really supports me, which is great. How do you make time to work out even at home with a baby? For me, having a schedule is key. I know that I'm going to work out every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. It's just part of my routine. I usually do it after the kids go down for bed. And I feel like having that structure in place and also having the workouts already planned out for me takes off a lot of the mental load and like decision fatigue, because it's not like, when am I gonna find time to work out this week? What kind of work, like I need to plan them, I need to write them out. Am I doing uppers? Am I doing lowers? Am I like, that whole thing. So I just know every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday after the kids go to bed, I'm gonna open my app and I'm gonna spend 25 minutes working out. And that has just become non-negotiable in my routine. Sometimes I have time to do it earlier in the day. And if I'm feeling like I need to pick me up at nap time, like I will let myself do it earlier, but I do try to keep it on the same day. How is your postpartum health compared with your first to your second? It has definitely been more difficult with Juniper. Like I said, a lot of those health issues kind of came out of the woodwork with her. And I don't know if it was just my second pregnancy, if it was being a little bit older, if it was because I gained much more weight with her than I did when I was pregnant with Rowan. But I just feel like it has been a little bit more difficult to prioritize my health. And I've had more health issues. Part of that also is definitely because when you only have one newborn to take care of, there's more time to prioritize self-care and nutrition and working out and all of that. Whereas when you have a newborn and a toddler, it's a little bit more tricky. So it has been harder with her, and I just needed to be really intentional about it, but also give myself a lot of grace and compassion if I need to go a little slower. How many times a week do you work out? So 5 times a week. It's not always 5 days. It's often 3 or 4 days because my other 2 like workouts are walks with the stroller. So I'll walk like 1.5 miles with the stroller twice a week, but often that's like in the morning and then I do my workout at night. So I would say like 3 to 5 days a week, most commonly 4. And I can't emphasize this enough. I am not killing myself every workout. I am not doing maximum effort. That is just not where I am in my life right now. I am focusing on prioritizing getting some movement in rather than like going full force and all out. There are definitely times when I challenge myself and that's fun and exciting. And there are days when I don't have as much energy and I have to be a little bit more gentle with myself, and that is okay. Moving my body is still good and still an accomplishment. But I'll go into my Trainwell app and give you guys a little bit more detail about what Catherine has given me in this kind of like phase that we're in. So my Tuesday workout is a full body workout. It's about 20 minutes long, and these are the muscles that I use. Some of the exercises in this one are like step jacks, dumbbell overhead presses, Romanian deadlifts, squats, bent over rows, half kneeling dumbbell lumberjack, which I didn't know what that was, but thankfully the app walked me through exactly how to do it with proper form, so don't be too overwhelmed. Then my Thursday workout is core stability, and again, this is a lot for working up the chain for my joint health specifically. And then on Saturday, I do a different full body workout. I was doing it to where it was like 1 core, 1 uppers, and 1 lower per week, but I just felt like I needed to be moving the same muscle groups multiple times per week, so we switched it up, and I've been really liking this new routine. I'll make sure that I put a screen recording of that last full body workout here so you guys can kind of see an example of what kind of moves I'm doing. And I'll end on this one. How do you find a balance between prioritizing fitness and resting / giving yourself a break? For me, this is all about cycle syncing. I really try to tune into what phase of my cycle I'm in. And for example, in the menstrual phase, I'm taking it a lot slower. That is my time to rest. I'm doing maybe walks and gentle yoga flows. And then in my follicular and ovulatory phases, I'm pushing a little bit harder. I'm working on strength training. I'm doing things that are like slightly more intense. So on like a macro level, that's how I'm doing it to make sure that I'm listening to what my body needs at the different phases of the month. But on a more micro level, something that I think is so important is switching the goal from losing weight to supporting your whole body. Because then it becomes very easy to have a litmus test of, does a workout support my whole body right now? And sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is yes, I want to move my body, I want to stretch, I want to work on my joint health. And sometimes the answer is, I got no sleep last night, I'm exhausted, I need some quiet self-care time, reading or something like that. And if you're judging based on that question of how can I support my whole body, the answer becomes very obvious. And you have to listen when the answer is no, take some time off for yourself and not judge yourself for that. Give yourself all of the grace and the compassion. If you're experiencing fatigue or you have an injury, a workout is not going to serve you and is not going to help with your whole body health, so it's counterintuitive to do it. I think that is it for this video, but if you guys have any other questions, please be sure to leave them down below in the comments, or you can always send me a DM on Instagram if you want it to be a little bit more private just between the two of us. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that no matter where you are in your fitness journey, you take a little time to appreciate your body today. It's doing a real good job. Thank you again to Trainwell for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget to check out the link in my description. The first 100 people to sign up will get 14 days free plus $25 off their first month of Trainwell. I love you guys lots, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye!
I follow only golden